Okay, that is working. Perfect.
Okay. Yep,
Okay.
it's recording again.
Okay. And while you're doing that, let me see if I can record. Okay. I don't think it's allowing me to record. That's interesting.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. You can turn me off because I don't want to mess up our recording because we've been having some issues. So you can
Oh,
make it so
okay.
you don't have me record. Yes.
Great. Welcome everybody to In Honor of Those Who Survived, a generative poetry workshop. And I'm glad to see everybody here. This is a workshop. Actually, let me fix the screen. Um, and I'll take off my glasses for a sec so that I can see the screen. Oh gosh, I look tiny here, which is maybe. Um, this past summer, I did a workshop on the people we lost due to COVID, and this is the second part of the workshop. It's for people who are poets, and I know, we have some noted poets here. I see Lady Di's here. I see Sandy Leibowitz is here. I see Kate Shine is here. Um, and, um, you know, this today, I would like us to focus on the people who've survived, because it's not just about, you know, those who died, but it's also about those who've survived. And I know, there are a tremendous number of people who've survived and who are surviving. I just have a quick selection of the people who have, and some interesting stories too. I tried to make the PowerPoint representative, and I tried to make it diverse, and I tried to make it a collection of interesting stories. And what you may want to, if you're not a poet, you can also write notes to the people who are who are the survivors. I think that could be interesting. Um, and I guess the last thing that I'll say before we truly get started is, well, thank you for coming. I'm glad to see everybody who's here. Okay. What I thought I'd do, I think is to, before I start the PowerPoint, I also want to thank Jennifer Baugh for coming. She is going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions or issues, she can help you out. I'm going to be busy doing my thing here.
Okay.
And I want to, also thank Sandy Leibowitz for coming, because she's going to read one of her poems after I go through the PowerPoint. Okay. So again, thank you for coming. Do people have any questions before I do the PowerPoint? Any questions? Okay, we'll get started. I am going to share my screen and go to PowerPoint. Okay, and I want to show the entire thing. Whoop. Yep, that's it. Let's go to the beginning. And I'm going to end the show because I want you to see the whole thing. I don't want you to. Okay, this is it. Oh, sorry, Thelma. This is not showing the whole thing. Well, I guess I'll have to do what I can here. Here it is. Good. Okay. Okay. Welcome to In Honor of Those Who've Survived the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, we're going to start with Wuhan. And I just love this picture of, actually there are 4 healthcare workers. Um, and what's interesting is that I tried to look them up this past week, and the only ones I could find out information about were the 2 on the left, Sao Zhigang and Gu Qin. He is a doctor, a 40-year-old doctor, and he actually, while he was in quarantine, while he was suffering from COVID, he was actually serving as a consultant. And he was very happy and eager to come back once he tested negative. And the woman to his right was a nursing assistant, and the experience of the nursing assistants were was a little trickier because their equipment was not as good as the equipment of the doctors, because they had a lesser status. And she seemed to manage okay. Well, we mostly, what we know of her is this picture where she's looking triumphant, but some of the people who tested positive, even though they tested positive, they had to sleep on the streets.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you may want to mute yourself while I'm talking. That'd be good, thanks. And this is this is a really great triumphant picture, and there are a lot of great, wonderful stories about the group, or I guess healthcare workers in general, but like everything, not everything is perfect. And I think it was probably harder, for the nursing assistants, that they weren't allowed to stay in the hostels where they lived, than it was for the doctors. But at the same time, I know that as a physician that Dr. Zhigang probably, yes, he wanted to get back to work, but there probably was some pressure. And we'll kind of see that with one of our next survivors. Any questions about the healthcare workers from Wuhan? Okay, let's move on to the next person. And this is Tiffany Pinkney from Harlem. She's a woman who donated plasma so that COVID-19 patients could be treated with the antibodies in her blood. And, that's one of the treatments. And as we can see from the slide, she said, it is definitely overwhelming to know that in my blood, there may be answers. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to find out what she's been doing lately. All that I could find out was basically that she had donated plasma. So, be interesting to find out what she's doing now. But, here is her picture in Harlem, in New York. I don't, if you don't know about Harlem, this is a neighborhood in New York City on Manhattan, and it has a lot of rich culture, and it's a center of historical center of African American life. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure. Yes. Ruth.
So, yeah, did she get a virus, and then after she recovered, then she donated her plasma?
Right.
Was
Yeah.
that it?
Yeah. She did.
Very brave of her. Thank you to her.
Yes. And it was, at that, and it was at the time when people didn't have as many treatments. They didn't know, obviously they didn't know what was going to happen. And so, they were seeing what could be done with the antibodies at least.
So it was kind of a trial, right?
Yeah, it was a trial. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's very good of her.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Great. Thanks.
I have a question also.
Yes.
Do people have to have her blood type to get her plasma to work?
That is a good, I would imagine so. And actually I should probably say, I should probably add that even though this is a medical topic, I don't have extensive medical knowledge. So this is, and this may be something that, if you are a nursing major or, you're interested, this might be something to, to investigate. But yeah, I would imagine that the people, who would benefit from her plasma probably would have to be, the same blood type. Maybe, just maybe, she might even be type O. So she can donate to anybody. But yeah, that's a good question, Rika.
Thank you.
Great. And here we have Alex Tull, a New York City paramedic. His station is up in the Bronx. And it's possible that he might have been one of the people who had long haul COVID, people who continue to have symptoms over time. He spent 10 days at home convalescing. He felt guilt staying home, but he had to return to work as a paramedic, even though he was having trouble going up the stairs, even though he had fatigue and trouble breathing, because that was the rule. Once you tested positive, you had to go back to work. I guess once you tested negative, you had to go back to work. But, as you can see from the last item on his slide, at the height of the pandemic, a quarter of the members of New York City's emergency medical services were out sick. So if, let's say he was staying home, even though he had tested negative, that would mean that his station would be more short-staffed, and that would be a problem. So it's really a catch-22. Do you stay home and take care of yourself, or and possibly lose your job because you're staying home, or you go to work? And he was worried, that he might infect others. And unfortunately, there's not anything else about him other than, he was, how he was as of, I think, April, when he had just returned to work, and he was worried about catching COVID again, and he was worried about infecting other people. And, it may be that also, I don't know if it was that bad in April, but actually some of the first responders are not the most careful people as well, with masks. So, that's an issue now. Any questions? If you're, okay. Okay, any questions about Alex? Okay, I think we're going to move beyond New York. We're going to go to the UK, which is experienced. And actually, as I was telling Jennifer, that If somebody isn't, okay, yeah, please mute yourself unless you're gonna ask me a question, thanks. Okay, and actually, at one point, this woman, Connie Titchen, was the oldest survivor of the COVID. And, you know, she's quite elderly. She's 106. She's very spry for 106, and she still does cooking, and she enjoys eating at McDonald's. But, you know, there are actually older people who survived. There's that several 108-year-olds have survived. You know, one man in New Mexico, one woman in New Jersey. One woman may have been 113 when she recovered, although they're still, you know, they're still trying to verify her age. Because, you know, especially when you get up to that age, you're not always sure how old somebody is. Yeah. And so, you know, that it's not just young people who survive, and you can, and actually, I think that that 100, you know, 113, you might even have remembered the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic. Okay, because, you know, you're old enough to start remembering some things. Okay, any questions or comments?
Yeah. I'm just here. I'm asking myself how she's gonna feel, you know, having survived 2 pandemics. I mean, how would I can just imagine what will be going through her mind, right?
Yeah.
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 And I'm sure she might even compare the two, you know, how things occurred for both of them. Yeah. So wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. And, you know, it might actually be interesting. That I think from what I gather, you know, she not only she's very spry, but she's you know, she's interested, you know, she's a very positive person. So, you know, that may also affect how she, you know, thinks about, you know, she's not, you know, she's not somebody who would feel survivor's guilt. You know, I can imagine some people who survived COVID might feel survivor's guilt for, you know, having made it when so many others haven't. And it, you know, yet, you know, she seems as though, you know, she's a very resilient person. I guess you would have to be resilient to live to be 106.
Yeah, and I'm sure she's gone through a lot too, right? Yeah, to be that old, I'm sure she's gone through a lot, maybe health wise and, you know, other issues. Yeah, so
I think she was probably fairly healthy.
yeah.
Yeah. And she was only in the hospital for 3 weeks. A lot of people were in the hospital for much longer and survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long David Latt, whom we're going to see how long he was in the hospital, but, you know, I think he was in longer than 3 weeks. He was on a ventilator. I don't think she was on a ventilator. You know, probably if she had been on a ventilator, you know, she wouldn't be with us. But, you know, as far as I could tell, she is still with us at this point. So, you know, that's remarkable.
Yeah, very remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marion,
Yes.
that oldest survivor, meaning, oh, I'm about to sneeze. I'm sorry. That took me by surprise. Oldest survivor of COVID?
Of COVID, yes.
Of COVID. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that, although actually I just found out about the 113-year-old woman, but I think she might have, well, yeah, she must have had some symptoms. because but I guess she had tested positive for coronavirus. But yeah, I was surprised to see how many, extremely elderly people have, I mean, not, a lot of people, there's still people who have died, but, it was quite amazing. Okay. And here's David Latt, and he's probably, in my PowerPoint, he is the celebrity, although I guess in part he's a celebrity because he survived COVID. He actually spent 6 days on a ventilator at NYU's Langone Medical Center. And I think he was in the hospital a longer time than Connie Titchen was in. And as I said, 10 days after his discharge from the hospital, he had to use a wheelchair for significant distances. And I saw a picture of him. I think he was getting out of the cab and going home to his husband and his son. He looked like he was still in pretty rough shape. And
I want to start with is reading by Aaron Douglas. It's called Into Bondage. Aaron Douglas was an artist from the Harlem Renaissance in the 30s.
Okay, Faith, could you please mute? Thank you. Yeah, as I said, that initially, David Latt was, said that he prayed that he will see his 2-year-old son grow up, marry, and have children. He was listed on the blog for COVID long haulers, or the long COVID, but, because I think, probably because he's been working out, trying to work out as much as he can, as of last month, he was able to run a mile and is in training to run a 5K. In fact, he's supposed to be running a 5K about this time. He was a marathon runner. Initially, he was wondering if he was even going to be able to, walk significant distances again, but, he's been able to start running again. So, I think, that's very important to him. That's very important to his quality of life and, his physical fitness.
Marianne, which one is he?
Oh, David Latt, he's on the right.
Okay, with the solid color shirt on.
Solid color, yep, solid color shirt. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think his husband probably, he looks a little too healthy. Because you can kind of tell that David, even though he's that he doesn't look as healthy as his husband does. He does to me, he doesn't look like a 44-year-old. Of course, 44 is young, but he doesn't, he doesn't look like he's sitting up enough. Okay. This is a friend and neighbor of my husband and me. We lived near her in Lafayette, Indiana. And she became a nurse. And actually, she's not a nurse any longer. She is an inventor. She invented a device to prevent bed sores. She was originally a computer science person. And as a nurse, knowing about the pandemic, she traveled to New York City to work in a Brooklyn hospital. And as she says, to help take the pressure off of those who have been in the battle since the beginning and to bring them relief so they can recharge and regroup to finish this fight. she was in New York and she got COVID there. And actually, towards the end, she was actually kind of frustrated because she saw, she was starting to see the people not wearing masks and not taking the pandemic seriously. So, she said that she wrote that she began to think, why am I risking my life so that these people can not take the pandemic seriously, not wear their masks, not social distance? So, it kind of ended up in a frustrating experience for her. And I guess, she's back in Indiana now. Okay, any questions?
Do you have any connection with her now, and how is she doing in the long haul?
Oh, we're Facebook friends. She seems to be doing all right. I went to her Facebook page and posting about politics. She's not posting, oh, I'm so tired, or I can't walk the way I used to, or my brain is fogging. But she's posting about politics. So, fortunate. I guess, not everybody gets, the long haul symptoms, fortunately, but I guess enough people do that it is a concern. I think I remember reading that it's probably about a quarter of the people who have symptoms for a long time afterwards and can be considered long haul. So, and there are actually 4 different categories. One is the brain fog. The other is, fatigue, and another, cardiac symptoms. A lot of people who have a condition called POTS, where your heart rate gets out of control if you stand up. And, of course, say it's fatigue, brain fog, POTS, and I think the other is having trouble breathing. Okay. Yeah, any other questions? And I found a final person, Jade Gray Christie, who's British, another long hauler. And if we have time, I'd like to show the video, the 2-minute video of her. And she also caught COVID fairly early on. She appeared to recover in May. And then in June, her symptoms returned: chest pain, fatigue, trouble breathing. And the video that I'm going to show is from September. She actually never was admitted to the hospital, as her case was too mild and doctors wanted to protect cancer patients from getting COVID. So, she went through COVID in her apartment, and on her own. She was not living with anybody. She said, she thanked her neighbors, but this is somebody who, she was pretty much on her own. And she was even working a little bit while she had COVID. Okay, any questions?
This is more of a comment. I was just really shocked by the callousness of the hospital staff for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Well, the problem is when you have a situation like that, you have to triage. You have to figure out who you can help. And unfortunately, that's what they thought. Well, since she was young and her symptoms weren't, weren't as strong. On the other hand, there were people in this country who were turned away and they end up dying. So, yeah, but it's a matter of triaging. But, that's definitely something to mention in the, in your poem or your note. What I'd like to do is I'd like to show the.
If I can make a quick comment,
Oh, sure, yeah.
it's not necessarily callousness, but really difficult choices made by the doctors, because on the one hand, you had someone who might have benefited from being hospitalized for COVID, but on the other hand, you might have had immunocompromised cancer patients who would probably have died if they had got COVID.
Yeah.
Their immune system was no good. So it just shows the strain on the healthcare system and how COVID has kind of this ripple effect on everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Tim, for adding that. Okay, if you'd like, I'll show the video of Jade Gray Christie. I think it's interesting also to watch her physically as well. And I'm going to go to Firefox. I'm going to go here and we'll watch the video.
So this morning, it's been quite a tough one. I've woke up with chest pains. I've got a headache as well. Some days, Jade can't even get out of bed. Today, she's been able to, but she's had to drive to a park that used to take minutes to walk to.
How are you feeling today?
A bit tired.
Bit tired.
Jade is 32 and was previously very active.
What I'm usually used to doing in this park is going for bike rides, going for walks, and I miss doing all of that. You tell me if I'm going, too fast. And pace is all right with you.
She first fell ill in March.
I just felt horrendous. I couldn't physically get my head up off the pillow, and then the coughing started, and the week I just deteriorated throughout the week. So the chest pain started. I found myself gasping for air during the nights. I was really scared.
A few weeks later, she seemed to recover and was back working full time, but then everything changed.
I remember calling my manager and just saying, I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to be able to come in. I can't get out of bed this morning. And then it just deteriorated and it just went downhill from then. The fatigue was really extreme again. All my chest pains started to come back and I just felt so unwell. I just felt so unwell, and I've never felt right again since. And I just want people to know that, just because it might seem like I'm having a good day, people don't know what I've gone through to get to that day. I have to really plan everything that I do. So if I do need to go shopping, then I will probably have to rest the whole day before to be able to get up to go to shopping.
She's been able to work from home, but daily life can feel impossible.
It's been hell, if I'm honest. It's been tough. I think it's been quite lonely, if I'm honest. It's been quite lonely going through it.
Very little is known about the condition. She's having occupational therapy, but has no idea when she'll feel better.
I'm grateful that I'm alive and I'm still here. I don't feel like myself anymore, and I want myself back. I want Jade back.
Okay, so let me just quickly go back before we get something we don't want.
Hello and welcome to this BMJ webinar. I'm Fiona.
Okay, well, that might be something interesting for some of you to watch.
Marion, when was that filmed? Do you know?
Let me go back. I think it was fairly recently.
Because it's rather shocking that no one was wearing a mask, neither her nor the interviewer nor anyone on the street.
Oh, yes.
So if it was early in the pandemic, we hadn't quite gotten there yet, but by now it should be standard procedure.
Right. That's a good point, Sandy. Yeah, because it was posted September 30th. So yeah, it might be worth looking at, if you like to do research, what's the situation in England? Because I know, they've had their problems with COVID, and they've had their problems with, second surges and all that. So, that could be, yeah, because I could imagine, if that were, well, it might also be that Jade wasn't wearing a mask, because she was being taped. And, sometimes when people are talking, they're not wearing masks.
But the interviewer also was unmasked, and I was looking at the people walking down the street, and I didn't see a single mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Well, and the British may wonder why they're getting more COVID cases again. Yeah. No.
I have a cousin in England, but in like a small suburban town. I can ask her to see, what she feels the situation is with the masks.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, because I know in Montgomery County, Maryland, where I live, I'm seeing fewer people wearing masks, but I see people even wearing them while they're driving. Yeah, I know. Jennifer, what are you noticing in Ellicott City? Are people wearing their masks?
People are wearing their masks, and they have been pretty good about it here. I think we have a really low, we have a lower count than Montgomery County. And Howard County is better a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess, probably really varies. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, what did people else did people think about the stories of the people who've survived? You think about, watching, how Jade gets around, 6 months after she first caught COVID.
I wanted to comment on Jada, but on a different topic, if I may. So it's not only her, but I know others, after they get a COVID, they are not back to themselves again. It's like it changes their body, it changes their system, and it's so frustrating. So yeah, so it's like you wonder, you know how you used to be like before you got a COVID, and now because of COVID, everything has changed. So if I empathize with them, I would say it will not be easy. It will not be easy that suddenly COVID will change everything about your system. And then, it's difficult for you to do what you used to do because of COVID. It's I don't know how to put it, but I would say we should all pray and protect ourselves so that we don't get it, because once you get it, you might not go back to yourself. Yeah, you might not be the same again. Yeah. So
yeah, because there are people who have, cardiac problems after COVID, clots after COVID.
I also think, sorry.
Oh,
you want to go ahead, Mary?
I was just going to say that it does kind of highlight why different people who have not gotten COVID react differently. Now here in our own neighborhood, in our social circle, yes, we've known people who've died from it. We've known people who've been very, very sick. But in the social circle of people outside of the Maryland area that I talked to, oh yeah, it was just a mild disease that, somebody down the street got and got over it. And that may affect how people, whether they wear masks or not, depending on the people that they knew or knew of who had it. If you had a very mild symptoms, then for them, oh, it's just a mild thing. If you know somebody who's died, then for us, it's a very serious thing.
And I guess I also wanted to add that there's a lot of unknowns still about COVID. Obviously, we're seeing that their COVID can return. And I think that fear brings a different component than other diseases and illnesses, because there's a mental component and there's a physical component. Because I think there is a trauma that is suffered mentally too, not knowing, and there's a fear. So it makes this a really unique thing to tackle.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Jennifer, because I think, you know, something that serious, when you're affected by, you know, it's going to affect you psychologically.
I just wanted to say, I had a very, 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 very mild, thankfully, case of it. And in fact, you know, they were telling you, and it was in March, or mid-March. And all I had was fever and chills, but I've never had anything like it. And a headache that was really bizarre. I almost forgot that. It started like in the side of my head, but very intense. And I didn't have the breathing, I didn't have the coughing, and thank God I didn't have to go to a hospital. I was even, you know, they were telling you to call your doctors, and they would ask you all these questions, and they would monitor you. And they called me, they had a nurse call me every single day until I had no fever. And then they called me once a week for like a month. But the doctor and all the nurses told me I didn't have it. And I was like, I know I had it because I don't get fevers. And why would I have a special, you know, disease when there's a pandemic on? And eventually I had my physical, and I asked for the antibody test, and I have the antibodies. So I know. Oh, and I also lost my sense of taste and smell for 3 weeks. But I knew I had it. And even though I have the antibodies, and I feel sort of like Superwoman, like I have antibodies, I'm like special, but I'm terrified because we see that people who've had it get it again, and the second time is worse. People who had mild symptoms get it severe the second time. So I don't feel protected. So I still have that specter hanging over me. You know, am I protected? I'm not protected. We don't have a clue. We don't know. And also the fact that the virus, they're talking about the virus mutating. So maybe you would be immune to the old version of the virus, but if the virus changes, those antibodies are useless. So it is that the fear is a very big part of this, and the fear of the unknown. Yeah.
How true. Okay, we actually need to leave a little time for poetry, and I thought, Sandy, would you like to read The Boat? That is a really great poem. I'm going to share the screen so that we can read along with you.
And I just have to say that I have to thank Marion for the poem, because I wrote it in one of her workshops, and I would not have known about these two people. And I found their story very moving. So The Boat, for Bae Thi Huynh, who fled from Vietnam in a boat with her husband, Joseph, in 1980. They died in Worcester, Massachusetts, of the coronavirus on the same day. 60 years ago, the boat of marriage carried me to you. It was not a ship of our own making, but it was our labor that kept it from foundering. It had no engines, no sails. Always we rowed together, sometimes through desperate currents. I counted on you as you did me to work the oars, despite the ache of muscles pushed too far, exertion almost beyond endurance. If you pulled too hard, we went off course. If I stopped rowing, the boat went in useless circles. When our land grew too dangerous, you built in secret a real boat. We used one of my old dresses for a sail and gave ourselves and our children to the sea, risking everything. We were lucky ones. We survived and built new lives in a new country. Now, in the same hospital, we lie for the first time in separate beds. The rhythm we hear, not the splash of waves or each other's heartbeats, but the labored intake and outtake of our breathing, the machine's chirps. Take my hand, Joseph. Let us pull away together, as we did in life, in 60 years of love, traversing this new ocean. What is one more journey? Thanks.
Yeah. Do people have any questions or comments for Sandy?
Yeah, it's just sad that they had to die of COVID-19. I mean, very sad. And it happened on the same day, right? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for writing that poem.
That's a beautiful love story, their story.
That's
To
what
take
I
the
thought
same
too.
to
Yeah.
take the same breath at the same time, but you as a writer really captured it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much from the love
Thanks.
poet. Yes.
Okay. On that note, what I'd like to do is to move to the poetry writing part. And let's see, it's 1:46. Let's go for about 15 minutes for writing. And in the poetry part, and I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint. Fact. Look at the people who survived. And I would like you to write a poem of address to one of these people or a poem from their perspective. If you're here more for the content or the extra credit, you can write a letter, a short letter to one of these people. Either Connie Titchen, the 106-year-old, Tiffany Pinkney, the woman who donated her plasma, Jessica Bussert, the woman who came to New York to be a nurse, Jade Gray Christie, the long haul survivor, David Latt, another long haul survivor who is, just now has gotten back to running, Alex Tull, the paramedic, and the people, the healthcare workers from Wuhan. Okay, so let's go for about 15 minutes. And Jennifer, do you mind letting me know when it's 15 minutes?
Sure, I will. Thank
Great.
you.
And, I'll be here too, but probably, if you're writing, you may want to mute the screen, so that you don't hear me hear people talking. But I will be here if people have questions, and we'll go for 15 more minutes. Yeah? Oh, yeah, this isn't a good time. Maybe, what time are we gonna eat? Maybe 4? 4 o'clock? Yeah. 4 o'clock?
We have about 6 minutes left. I'll let you know when the 6 minutes are up.
Thank you, Jennifer.
We have 2 minutes left. Okay, that would be time's up.
Thank you, Jennifer. And as a visual signal, I am going to briefly move away from the slide. Would anybody like to start us off with a poem that they wrote, inspired by the survivors, in honor of the survivors?
Yes.
Oh.
It's just something small. It's not lengthy. I hope it's okay.
Okay, that's good. And I'm going to actually go back to the slide so that, yeah. Okay,
So,
Ruth.
I wrote mine for the healthcare workers in Wuhan, and then all healthcare workers, you know, all healthcare workers out there. I'm sorry, my daughter is here. Sorry. Okay. I just wanted to thank you guys for your selfless sacrifice. You guys contracted a virus in your line of duty. You were in quarantine, and after recovery, you went back to work to help your patients and also support your co-workers. You did not fear for your lives, but rather concerned with the life of others, your patients. You people have been invaluable in the fight of the pandemic. I appreciate you guys. Continue the good work. Thank you.
What do people like? And remember, these are just baby poems, baby notes. What do people like about Ruth's note to the healthcare worker, poem to the healthcare workers?
I like the sensitivity, just feeling the compassion for those that are putting their lives and their families' lives also in the forefront of this pandemic. So I love the compassion that she shows, that she had for those particular workers.
Yeah. Great. Thanks so much, Lady Di. Yeah. Since we're probably, we're getting short on time, would somebody else like to read a baby poem or a baby note?
I want to read mine.
Oh, thanks, Lady Di.
Mine is called Sweet Jaded Jewel. Sweet jaded jewel, I feel for you. Many discomforts you have felt. Many discomforts you have endured. I wonder, sweet jade, what do you feel? What marvelous main tool brought you through? I'm so very happy you are able to slowly get out and about. Living alone myself, I know empty feeling of loneliness, especially when you are unable to get up and out. Sweet jaded jewel, hearing your story, I vision myself on my own, being alone. My tool, my saving grace is prayer and poetry.
Thank you, Lady Di.
Thank you.
Great. What do people like best about Lady Di's poem to Jade?
I like the reputation of Sweet Jewel. That evokes exactly, I didn't realize it, but that's exactly what I think that's what that young lady was. She's about the age of my children, and my heart just was so, oh my goodness, you poor child to be alone.
I loved the way that you read your poem. It was so melodic. It was beautiful.
Thank you. It's a poem in progress for me because I love to have a prompt and then to really go into what my style of my poem is going to be or whatever. So I just love having this unique, I think I wrote it in the chat, you coming to this particular event that gave me an opportunity to write something different that I've never written, that I haven't written throughout this whole pandemic, and I've been writing continuously. So,
Well, I'm so glad you did. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing it with us.
thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Marion, for inviting me.
Great. Okay. We have a few more minutes. Who would like to read their poem, their baby poem?
I'd like to take a crack at it.
Great, thanks so much.
Okay. I was thinking of the EMT, among other people. It did not have to be this way. I'm sorry. We have failed you. Failed, dropped the ball, screwed up, face plant into the mud of history. The truth strangled, reality denied, the world subjected to gaslighting. The poison of me versus we fights to win the day. I'm sorry we could not stop it. The dead pile up, the fight goes on. We suffer together. Some tried to help, they truly did. Too little, too late, not enough. Perhaps someday we will learn. We must love one another or die.
Thanks so much. Is that Tim?
Yes.
Oh, thanks so much, Tim. Great. Yeah. What do people like best about Tim's poem?
I thought there was a lot of rich metaphors. I really liked face planting into history. That made perfect sense to me.
I like the power and the strength of his poem. I like the power and the strength that he showed for that individual, that fireman.
Yeah. Yeah, it really makes the poem transcend, to, the individual to, our common situation, where it could, and as you said, Tim, it could have been otherwise. We could have been prepared to deal with the coronavirus.
And ongoing, like the fact of the people who are refusing to wear masks, or take any precautions, which continues to put people at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked the ending with the we versus me, which actually is a thread through the whole poem.
Great. I think we are running out of time. I can be here. I know some of you probably have to run off. I want to thank you for coming. If you are interested, if you would like me to publish what you've written, I have a blog zine. The song is That's Where Sandy's poem was published. Please, you can email me, either at my Gmail account or my MC account, and you can send your poems to me. But I won't look at them till January. This is another crazy semester. Okay, yeah, thank you for coming. Great, yeah. It's good to see everybody. Oh, it's good to see Benita here and Claudia. And Hiram.
Thank you, Marianne. Good to see you too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good
Were you here for the memory of?
Me?
Yeah, yeah.
I came in about 15 minutes late,
Oh,
so I saw some of the descriptions, but not all.
yeah, yeah. Which
Yeah.
one did you end up writing about, Claudia?
I actually didn't, sorry. But I enjoyed listening.
Oh, good.
To these.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah,
It
yeah,
looks like somebody would like Sandy's email.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Oh,
Good. Oh, yes. I forgot to tell everybody. Sandy has a new book out. Ghost Light from Alien Buddha Press and Amazon. And they're COVID poems about, Sandy's experience in New York, during the pandemic.
Thanks again, Marianne. See you soon.
Thank you, Claudia. Take care.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Mariam. Bye.
Bye. Yep. Have a good one, Ruth.
Thank
Marion
you.
hosts the best workshops.
Yeah, you're right. I agree.
Does.
yeah, they're wonderful workshops.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to, actually, I would like to keep going on Zoom. I mean, not today, but I hope that we still continue to use Zoom
That's great.
after we go back to normalcy.
Yeah. Then I can keep coming.
Yeah. Have people from all over.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Talk to you
Bye.
soon.
Talk to you.
Sylvia, I left you my email in the chat.
I got yours and I'll email you and you'll have mine because mine was in the chat also. I had put it
Okay.
in
I
there.
didn't see it. All right. Thanks.
Yes, I'll email you.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you, ladies. That's
Yeah,
so
thank
sweet.
Bye.
Blessings to everyone.
And you too.
Blessings to you.
You too.
Thank you. Make sure you wear your mask.
It's a good note to end on.
That was good. And I'm saving the meeting right now. The chat. I'm saving the chat.
Yeah. Oh, thanks so much. I'm going to stop the recording.